They didn't forget my birthday. They just chose not to come. The candle flickered once, then settled into a steady flame. I adjusted the napkin beside the plate I'd folded for Mom, smoothing the edges again like it mattered. The wine bottle, her favorite Pinot, sat unopened in the center of the table, a hopeful centerpiece surrounded by empty chairs. Outside, the wind stirred the last of the autumn leaves, brushing them in swirls against the window of the little Italian place I'd reserved a week ago. The hostess had even helped me request the corner booth, the one with warm lighting and a view of the lake. I thought they'd like it. I thought this time they'd show up. I glanced at my phone again. No new messages, no missed calls. A soft clink of silverware brought me back to the table. The waiter, kind-eyed, gentle, refilled my water without a word. I smiled politely. He didn't ask where the others were. He didn't need to. The chair across from me remained untouched. I'd set it with care. A folded cream napkin, a small name card that said Mom, written in cursive I had traced twice with a gold pen. I'd even brought a little gift bag, tied neatly with navy ribbon. By 7:42, I knew. Still, I stayed. The breadbasket went cold. The candle burned low. My heart, strangely, stayed steady. Not numb, just prepared. Like I'd been rehearsing this for years. At 8 o'clock, the hostess approached with a small parcel wrapped in blue tissue and silver string. "A delivery came for you," she said kindly. I blinked. "From who?" She shrugged. "No name. Just said for Rachel." The gift was light. I placed it gently beside my wine glass, then unwrapped it slowly. Inside was a blue silk scarf. I froze. I knew that scarf. I'd spent an entire Saturday morning last December weaving through store aisles to find the exact shade Mom had mentioned in passing. Midnight blue with subtle silver threading. I gave it to her on Christmas. She'd thanked me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Now, it lay folded in a gift box, as if newly wrapped. There was a card taped to the inside. The front read, "Happy birthday. With love, I turned it over." The handwriting looked oddly familiar. I held it under the flickering candlelight. A faint indentation bled through the card's paper. I peeled back the top message, carefully, and underneath, almost like a ghost, the original inscription appeared. "To Mom, from Rachel. Merry Christmas." They hadn't even bothered to buy a new one. They'd just recycled mine. I sat back. I didn't cry. I didn't text anyone. I didn't ask why. I reached into my bag, pulled out a sticky note, and wrote in all caps, "Thank you. No more seats." I placed it in the center of the table. Then I stood, left a tip, and walked out. The night air was colder than I expected. My breath came out in short white wisps as I walked home. The street lamps buzzed faintly, the wind trailing behind me like a quiet witness. At home, I slipped off my coat, kicked off my shoes, and set the scarf on the kitchen counter like evidence. My fingers moved automatically, habit built over years of quietly documenting things no one believed I noticed. I picked up my phone and opened Instagram. The first post that loaded was from Sierra, a dimly lit restaurant, clinking glasses, candlelight. Mom, Logan, Sierra, all there. Smiling. The caption read, "To the man who deserves everything." Logan was holding up a glass of wine, grinning. On his wrist was the Cartier I remembered from a month ago, the one he said he couldn't afford. I recognized the packaging. I paid for that rent. My eyes didn't blink. I zoomed in. Yes. That was the same wine I bought for tonight. I pressed the screenshot button. Then I pressed record. It wasn't just my birthday they skipped. It was everything I ever gave. The apartment was dark except for the low glow of my laptop screen. I hadn't turned on the lights since I walked in. Outside, the Seattle skyline blinked in scattered amber, its reflection smeared faintly against my window. Inside, it was silent. No music, no TV. Just the hum of the fridge and the occasional click of my trackpad. I opened the banking app. Password. Face ID. Biometric verification. Confirm. The U.S. bank interface loaded slowly, like it knew I wasn't going to like what I saw. Checking transaction history. Filter. Last 12 months. The screen populated with rows of dates, vendors, amounts. I scrolled past the groceries, the utility bills, the donation to the animal shelter last spring. Then the real list started. November 2nd, transfer to Logan Moore, $1,500. Note, one-time rent help? Don't stress. August 19th, Zelle to Sierra M, $600. Note, dental emergency. Hope you're okay. April 3rd, check number 1407, $5,200. Memo. Bridge payment, mom's mortgage, will reimburse. My eyes followed the columns like a detective scanning a crime scene. I clicked Export. Then I opened Snagit. Screenshot. Crop. Save. Next tab. Google Sheets. I titled the new document Emotional Overdrafts. Line 1. Amount, recipient, reason, promised reimbursement, status. I filled the cells with mechanical precision. No emotion. No hesitation. Line 4, read, $5,200, Janet Moore, mortgage, yes, never paid. Line 7, read, $1,500, Logan Moore, rent, just 1 month. Never paid. Line 9, $600, Sierra Moore, tooth, promised birthday dinner, didn't show. It wasn't just the money, it was the erosion. Each dollar chipped away a little more of my presence until I became something like a utility. Invisible. Expected. I minimized the sheet and sat back. The room colder now. Or maybe I just noticed it. My email pinged. New message, Clara Winters. Subject, re. Today I clicked. Sometimes not being invited is the loudest proof you never really belonged. You okay? I read it twice. Then a third time. Clara had always been soft-spoken at work, the kind who stayed out of group chats and never joined happy hours. But once, in the break room, she'd offered me the last muffin and said, "You notice things others miss, don't you?" She wasn't wrong. I clicked reply. Not okay, but organizing it. As I hit send, another notification blinked in. King County Clerk, property change notification. The subject line was sterile, the kind of email you ignore if you think your life is intact. I didn't. Click. Open attachment. Document, deed revision, 1021 Larchmont Drive. Date, October 12th, 2023. Previous owners, Janet Moore, Rachel Moore. New owners, Janet Moore, Logan Moore. I didn't move for a full 10 seconds. Then I zoomed in on the signature line. There it was, my name, in the same cursive I used to sign birthday cards. It looked clean. Crisp. Too crisp. My phone was already in my hand before I realized I'd grabbed it. Dial, County Records Office, Extension 3, Document Verification. A woman picked up. Polite, efficient. I kept my voice steady. Hi, I received a deed revision notice. Can you confirm if there's a signature from me on file? A pause. Yes, she said. It looks clean, but there's no photo ID or notarization attached. No ID? Just confirming, this went through without identification? Yes, ma'am. It was filed as an internal family transfer. Those often get expedited. I ended the call with a thank you that tasted like steel. They didn't forget my birthday. They erased me, and they left receipts. They forged my name. I'm done forging peace. Steam rose from the coffee maker in slow spirals, the only movement in the apartment as dawn bled through the curtains. I didn't turn on the overhead light. The soft glow of the laptop was enough. The county clerk's office hadn't called back yet, so I called them again. A different woman answered this time. I asked the same question. Is there a live signature on file? A pause. Typing. Another pause. No, ma'am. The deed was submitted digitally. No live signature required. It was processed under internal transfer between family members. I thanked her. Hung up. That was it. They used my trust like a pen, my silence like a stamp. I opened a new Google Drive folder and named it Pattern. The first upload was the PDF from the clerk's office. Then the screenshots from the banking app. The scarf, the card. The dinner reservation confirmation. A photo from Sierra's baby shower. Everyone laughing, arms linked, while I stood blurred in the background, holding a tray of bruschetta. They hadn't just excluded me. They'd rewritten the story like I was never there to begin with. New tab, Gmail, new email, to frauddept@kingcounty.gov. Subject, unauthorized signature, urgent body. Attached is a deed revision listing my name as a consenting party. I never signed this document. I was not notified. No ID was provided. This is not my consent. Attached, PDF of deed, prior mortgage statements, transaction screenshots. Rachel Moore. I hovered over send D but didn't click yet. Instead, I reached for my coffee. The phone rang. Clara. Morning, I said. You sound calm, she replied. I am. It's mechanical now. A silence settled. Then Clara's voice, soft but sharpened by something steadier than pity. Don't let them write you out of your own story. I closed my eyes. I won't. We talked for 10 minutes. No small talk. Just facts and a few phrases like stitches. Steadying the seams of a narrative I refused to let fray. After we hung up, I opened another tab, found a firm specializing in property fraud, uploaded the documents again, wrote a new subject line. Subject, urgent legal inquiry, forged property deed. Before I could finish the body, my phone buzzed. Notification, Family First Y group chat renamed by Sierra. I hadn't opened that chat in months. I hesitated, then tapped in. Sierra, let's not invite her this year. She ruins the vibe. Logan reacted with a laughing emoji. Janet replied with nothing but a thumbs up. No one noticed I was still in the group. I didn't leave. I didn't reply. I stared at my reflection in the laptop screen. Not soft. Not broken. Just still. They haven't removed me, I whispered aloud. They've erased me. I clicked send on the legal email. Then I renamed the drive folder. Evidence, the year they tried to delete me. They came expecting a conversation. I gave them a presentation. The apartment was spotless. I'd scrubbed it twice. Not because they deserved a clean space, but because I did. The overhead lights were off, leaving the room illuminated by the golden hum of a floor lamp and the quiet pulse of the mini projector already warmed up on the sideboard. On the table, 3 printed folders, identical in size, bound with a single black clip each. Their names were printed in clean, bold letters. I'd thought about candles. I didn't light any. At 6:28 p.m., the elevator chimed. A knock followed at 6:30 sharp. I opened the door. Janet walked in first, clutching her handbag like it was a courtroom exhibit. Sierra was behind her, phone already in hand, thumbs moving fast. Logan trailed, hands shoved into the pockets of the jacket I'd bought him last Christmas. No hugs, no smiles, just air that got heavier by the step. You said this was important, Janet said flatly, scanning the room. So? Sit, I said. To their credit, they did. I walked over to the projector and clicked. The wall lit up, a simple title slide. Pattern. Then the first image, a screenshot of a $1,500 transfer to Logan. I said nothing. Let the number speak. Click. Next, $600 to Sierra. Click. $5,200 mortgage bridge. The memo. Just this once. Sierra scoffed. What is this, a trial? Not a trial, I said, flipping to the next slide. An audit. Janet crossed her arms. We already discussed all this. No, I corrected. You took. I recorded click. The altered deed, the timestamp, the missing ID. Click. A blown-up image of Logan's wrist from Sierra's Instagram post. The watch he couldn't afford. Next to it, the receipt, sent from his email address to mine last July, with a note. Could you spot me for this? Sierra squinted. That's private. You posted it publicly, I said, and advanced the next slide. The group chat, renamed Family First. The message, she ruins the vibe. No one spoke. I reached for the printed folders and passed one to each of them. Inside, every screenshot, every transaction, every photo from family events I paid for but was cropped out of. On the last page, a cover sheet that read in bold black font, "This is a list of everything I gave, and what you chose to take." Janet's lips pressed into a thin line. You'll regret this when you're alone. I looked at her, steady. I've already been alone, I replied. Now I just know why. Clara's text buzzed on my phone as I slid the last document across the table. A notarized notice of withdrawal from all shared financial obligations. Mortgage, utilities, subscriptions, the health plan I'd kept them on under my employer benefits. All set to expire within 30 days. Janet flipped through the pages. Her mouth opened, then shut. Sierra stood. So that's it? You're cutting us off? No, I said, rising slowly. I'm letting go. Logan lingered by the door. His voice was low but clear. You're burning the bridge. I met his gaze. I'm just not drowning under it anymore. He didn't respond, just walked out behind the others, the folders still clutched in their hands like they weren't sure whether to shred or frame them. The door clicked shut. I sank into the chair and opened Clara's message. We build new tables when we're done begging for chairs. I turned off the projector and started setting the table for one. They thought I'd break. I didn't. I disconnected. The sky outside was an unbroken sheet of gray, the kind that dulled everything into stillness. I moved slowly, deliberately. Not because I was exhausted, but because there was no rush anymore. On the kitchen counter, a neat stack of old family photos sat face down. I hadn't thrown them away. Not yet. That would feel too dramatic. But I also hadn't turned them over. That felt honest. The voicemail blinked on my phone. I tapped play. Logan's voice cracked, more annoyed than upset. Mom's panicking. The mortgage is overdue. You happy now? He didn't say, please. He didn't ask how I was. I deleted the message. On Instagram, Sierra had posted a filtered group photo. Them again, arms linked, wine glasses raised, that familiar backdrop of the restaurant they'd gone to on my birthday. The caption read, "Still together." Some people just fade. No tags. No comments. I muted her account. On the dining table, a small package sat wrapped in brown paper. No return address, just a delicate script. Rachel. Inside was a slim book, The Quiet Side of the Storm. A note was tucked inside the cover, handwritten in Clara's careful lettering. When they say you've changed, remind them it was a necessary upgrade. C. I pressed the card to my chest. Not for long, just enough. Then the email pinged. Subject, final notice, title reassignment confirmed. From Anderson and Clark LLP. I opened it. Per request and legal agreement, your name has been fully removed from the deed. The property now belongs solely to Janet Moore and Logan Moore. I stared at the line, not with pain, with clarity. I opened a blank Google Doc, named it, Closure is Mine Now. Then I started uploading. The PDFs from the county clerk, the emails, the screenshots, the folder of every evidence I had ever kept like emotional receipts. Not to weaponize. Not anymore. Just to file it. For the record. For me. Each document dropped into the drive with a soft chime. A series of small closures. No fireworks, no breakdowns. Just quiet clicks. My eyes drifted to the flight confirmation email pinned at the top of my inbox. Seattle Santa Fe departure, Sunday, November 26th, 10:25 a.m. I reached across the keyboard and closed the laptop gently. This isn't revenge, I whispered into the empty room. It's relief. Outside, the clouds didn't part, but inside it felt lighter. I used to beg for a seat. Now I build my own table. The air in Santa Fe tasted like burnt sage and possibility. I stepped out of the airport with one bag slung over my shoulder and no one waiting for me at the curb. And I felt weightless. The cab ride to the casita was short, winding through quiet streets lined with adobe walls and hand-painted tiles. The sun was warm, not harsh. The kind of warmth that didn't ask anything of you. I unlocked the door to the little rental. White plaster walls, terracotta floors, a wooden table on the patio with 2 sun-bleached chairs. I dropped the bag by the door and exhaled. This wasn't a restart. It was a reset. I unpacked slowly. Just the essentials: a few clothes, a journal, my laptop, and one photo. I unfolded it carefully. Me and Dad, years ago, sitting at the edge of a pier with fishing poles and matching windbreakers. He wasn't perfect, but he never asked me to disappear. I taped the photo to the inside of the kitchen cabinet, somewhere quiet, just for me. Dinner was simple: pasta, olive oil, and tomatoes sliced thin, like the kind I used to make when I had nothing else in the fridge. Except this time, it wasn't out of necessity. I lit a candle. No toast. No empty chairs. After the dishes were rinsed and the table cleared, I opened my laptop and created a new document. Title: What I Owe Myself. Chapter 1. I stared at the blinking cursor. It didn't feel intimidating anymore. It felt like a door. I typed, Lesson 1. You are allowed to leave the table when love is no longer being served. The wind moved gently across the patio, carrying with it the scent of distant piñon fires. My phone buzzed from the windowsill. Voicemail. Janet. I didn't listen. I didn't save it. I powered off the phone and placed it face down beside the candle. Clara's last message still glowed on the lock screen. Proud of you, kid. Now go live. I stepped outside. The sun had dipped low, bathing the stucco walls in amber. I sat down at the table. One chair was enough. This time, the silence was mine. And I'm not filling it for anyone. The desert doesn't wake up all at once. It stirs slowly. Light creeping across the sky like a secret being told. Rachel stood barefoot on the cool patio tiles, a mug of tea warming her hands, watching the horizon shift from indigo to rose. One breath, then another. Her phone was still powered off, tucked inside a drawer she hadn't opened in days. Santa Fe wasn't quiet in the way Seattle had been. It was a different kind of silence. Not the kind that came from being left out, but the kind you chose. She had filled the casita with that silence, layered it with the scent of cinnamon, the soft scrape of her pen on paper, the low murmur of wind through dried branches. There were no voicemails, no updates, no just checking in messages. And still, she didn't feel alone. She had started walking. Mornings on Canyon Road, afternoons through the galleries she once thought were too indulgent for someone like her. Now, she lingered. One painting caught her attention every time. A small canvas of a single chair, painted blue, placed in the center of an empty room. No people, no distractions, just space. She stood before it for 15 minutes the first day, 5 the next. Then she stopped timing it altogether. That week, she returned and asked the gallery assistant, "Who's the artist?" The girl smiled. "It's actually part of a local women's collective. They rotate anonymous works every season. That one's titled Seat Taken." Rachel blinked. "Do you want to leave a message for the artist?" the girl asked. "Sometimes they stop by." Rachel thought for a moment, then wrote, "I used to beg for a seat. Now I build my own." She didn't sign it. Clara's letter sat on the windowsill. Rachel had read it so many times the crease in the paper had softened. It didn't say much. Just one story about the first time Clara moved into her own apartment and forgot to buy spoons. She used a measuring cup for cereal for a week and laughed every time. Independence isn't always elegant, Clara had written, but it's always yours. That stuck with Rachel more than any TED Talk or therapy session ever had. It's always yours. So she had started cooking again. Not for 6, just for 1. She learned the rhythm of garlic and oil, the small pride of a clean dish rack. She didn't feel the need to document any of it. One afternoon at a quiet cafe near the rail yard district, a woman about her age asked, "Do you mind if I share your table? The others are full." Rachel looked up. She hesitated. The woman gestured to her coffee. "I won't talk. I just hate standing." Rachel smiled faintly. "Sure." They didn't speak again for a while. Just sat, facing opposite corners of the patio, 2 strangers orbiting the same sun. When the woman left, she said, "Thanks for the seat." Rachel nodded. "You're welcome." That night, Rachel opened her laptop again. What I Owe Myself. Chapter 2. She wrote, "You're allowed to protect your peace, even from people who used to be your whole world." By the end of the month, the lease on the casita was almost up. She had the option to renew, but something in her hesitated. She wasn't done moving yet. She had started looking at nearby towns, Taos, Chimayo, maybe even Albuquerque. Not out of restlessness, but out of choice. For the first time in years, she wasn't bound to anyone's orbit but her own. The final page of her notebook held a list. Not of expenses, not of birthdays. Just this. A chair by the window. Hot coffee. No interruptions. A book that makes you forget the time friends you don't owe anything to. The sound of your own voice. Steady, clear, and yours. One evening, as the sun dropped behind the hills, Rachel opened her drawer and powered on the phone. Not to check for missed calls, but to delete them all. One by one. Message by message. She didn't flinch. When the screen finally went blank again, she whispered, "I forgive you. But I don't return." She set the phone down, walked outside, and lit a candle at the center of her patio table. There was only one chair, and this time it was taken by someone who finally belonged. The ones who erased her name never imagined she'd turn silence into evidence and absence into liberation. They underestimated the quietest one at the table. And that was their final mistake. Justice didn't arrive with fireworks, but with documents, calm defiance, and the strength to walk away. Because when injustice is met with unwavering resolve, the truth always finds a way to speak, even if it whispers. Sometimes healing doesn't look like forgiveness. It looks like never letting them break you again. Like, share and subscribe if this story resonated. And comment 1 if you've ever had to reclaim your own worth.